Hi there. Today's video is for landlords who want to be able to find really good tenants. Today, I'm going to give you tips on how to find a good tenant who actually pays their rent on time. My name is Marcy Verberg. I'm a realtor here in Toronto. I have been an investor for 20 years and have rented apartments to many people over the years. So here are a few tips. Now, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your tenant is financially able to pay their rent on time. So what you want to do is get, first of all, their credit score. You can ask them for a copy of their credit score when you're doing your initial screening. However, when you actually decide who you're going to work with, you're going to want to pull a copy of their credit score yourself and make sure that it meets your means in terms of what you want the credit score to be. You want to treat this just as though you were loaning somebody money, because it takes so long to actually have somebody removed from your apartment in the event that they don't pay. You could effectively look at this as, how long am I really loaning this person money, which is, at least a year, maybe 2 years. So think of it, would you lend this person that much money based on what you're finding out from their credit rating and their employment history? So what you want to do next is get a letter from their employer, the last two employers ideally, and then you want to call the person's HR department and you want to verify how long the person has been working there, the amount of the salary that they have. Now, you'll most likely have to get permission, but you can call. Most human resources departments are going to be willing to give you out that information. You could also ask for copies of the person's statements, or they could volunteer to give you those just to make sure that they are able to pay the rent. And if they don't have an employment income, you want to verify their other sources of income. For example, are they retired? And they have some sort of other income from investments, that kind of thing. So you really want to look into those. You want to look into their last rentals and talk to the previous landlords. You may even consider going by and making sure that those were in fact real rental properties that the person was staying at. Give the landlord a call and verify, did this person pay their rent? Did they pay it on time? And ask specifically, how many times was this person late in paying their rent while they lived in your apartment? You can also ask about damages. Did the person leave any damages behind, or did the person take good care of the apartment? Also ask them why they left. So you are going to be asking both the landlord why the tenant left, and you're going to be asking the tenant why the tenant is moving. Now, one little tip here is to really watch out for sob stories. If this tenant really starts complaining a lot about the last landlord, you're going to really want to verify that information and make sure that they are giving you real information. So you could call the tenant, and you could also call the landlord and ask them and verify what the tenant has been telling you. Now, I can tell you a million stories of things that people have made up about their last landlord when really they had been asked to leave their last accommodations because they had not been paying their rent. So you have to be super careful. You'll also want to get proper identification from the person to make sure you actually know who you're renting to. And then you want to call everybody who they've given as a personal reference and just talk to the person and find out a little bit more from the reference about the person who wants to rent your property. When you're interviewing your prospective tenant, obviously you have to be super careful not to be discriminatory, and also to be careful that you're following any human rights laws in Canada. So just be careful how you're asking questions and what you're asking. So for example, you have to be very careful about asking, the status of the different people who are moving in with them. You can ask how many people are moving into the home, what are their names, what are their ages. You have to be careful about asking more information about those other people. You also want to just ask them, why are you moving? What did you like about your last place? What didn't you like about the last place? How long do you plan on staying here in this apartment? As a landlord, you may be choosing tenants that you want on the longer term, or you may be choosing people who will probably move after a couple of years. And that's okay, as long as you know what your strategy is in terms of how long you want your tenants to stay. The most important thing is that they pay while they're there, and they don't cause any problems in the building, and they get along, with other tenants. You may also want to make sure that the tenants are a good fit for the building. For example, if your building is very quiet, you want to make sure that the people moving in are also in search of a quiet building. Now, another tip could be to make sure you're really showing your amenities well. So in order to attract a really strong tenant, you want to show that you have good amenities, that you've taken care of your building, and that there's something there to offer them to make them feel like they want to come and stay with you. So those are my tips for today. You can click below if you'd like a guide on how to choose a great tenant. Thanks so much.